Hello, everybody. Welcome to Matchup Monday, the series where we pit two of our Y Team 2 characters against each other. This is the 7th episode. In the last one, we did the short film face-off between Shocker, Wolverine, and Quicksilver. And before that, we did Tudor versus the Hood, which was our longest fight episode, which was just insane to judge. We had to have two judges to decide that debacle. For this one, though, we're going to take it back to the street level and do Takeshi from Dragon and Tiger 3 versus Mr.X from Wolverine Brotherhood. Both projects created by my co-host, Brady Hosflug.
Hello.
Yes, Brady will be debating against me. I will be Mr.X, because, duh, I'm him. And Brady will be Takeshi. And Dalton Gold. Good old trusty, rusty Dalton Gold. Wonder Man, Meacham, Bushman, Hannibal King will be our judge for today.
Have we announced Wonder Man? I'm playing Wonder Man yet?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know if I did or not.
If we didn't, I'm gonna cut this video just slightly a little. But if I didn't, then it's an Easter egg if you watch this video.
It's okay. Nobody watches these anyway.
Hey, you're right. Let me check real quick.
Did we ever know?
I did not actually. I did not post that.
Oh, God.
Well, if you watch this video, spoiler alert, we're doing Wonder Man.
We announced it years ago. We
Well,
just never followed
Yeah,
it.
we didn't. Well, it's gonna happen. I promise. I actually wrote a really good script, and Dalton is not being a fucking loser, so he's gonna do it. We've got a lot of other stuff in the making. It's gonna be very fun. Anyway, so Brady, if you'd like to give a basic rundown of who Takeshi is, what he does, what his personality is.
All right. So Takeshi is Shang-Chi's slightly younger twin brother. They were both raised by their father Zhang, and when they were children, Takeshi was separated from Shang and sent to a separate compound in Japan for being too weak, where he was trained by originally Nobu, but he's also been trained by various different swordsmen that Zhang can find, and trained there for, basically into his late teenage years. And once Shang eventually killed his dad with the help of Doctor Strange.
Quote unquote. And then he came back.
Quote unquote killed him. Actually, no. But Takeshi was made
Typical comic book
The-
stuff.
Takeshi was made the new leader of the Hand, who started building the organization back up again. Until him and Shang crossed paths again in Dragon and Tiger 3, in a plot to resurrect his dad.
Yeah, that's where I die.
Hey, that was a good rundown.
As far as powers go, he is really just a regular human, just a very, very skilled swordsman. Doesn't really have any traditional superpowers, just a lot of training and really good with two pairs of pair of swords.
Oh yeah. A little bit about his personality.
About his
Anyway,
That's it. So as far as personality goes, he's very prideful. He's very prideful. He's very he has a lot of abandonment issues and insecurity with his father, and he kind of compensates with that by, lifting himself up probably more than he should. He's very cocky, very
arrogant.
very cocky, very arrogant, but still not a guy to be messed with.
So, he's a skilled, sympathetic villain.
Yeah.
On the opposite end of the spectrum, we have the most irredeemable motherfucker. I think in the White Team 2, possibly him. It's between him and Bushman.
My goal with writing him was to make him as dislikable and hateable as possible.
There, I believe, is 4 villains in the White Team 2. One of them hasn't shown up yet, but 3 of them I can talk about, just as like a small segment here, that I think are the 3 most evil sons of bitches ever. That would be Bushman, Mr.X, and Moonstone. Well, we'll talk about that one another day, but it's those 3 I believe are the most evil. Let's straight up. But
Oof.
a little bit about Mr. X. Mr. X, he was a swordsman, much like Takeshi, who was trained since childhood. However, the only difference between Takeshi and Mr. X is that X didn't train to, have something to live for, to be something to be worth. He trained for what all evil motherfuckers train for, pure power and the ability to destroy anyone in his way.
For the love of the game.
For the love of the fucking game. And he was also filled by Weapon X with nanobots in his bloodstream to help him to regenerate small wounds. However, he was also he took away his pain receptors, so he also cannot feel pain whatsoever, which makes him an extremely efficient killer, as not only can he heal from wounds, but he doesn't even know that they're there. But he, much like Takeshi, is a master swordsman. Arguably, the two are probably tied for being the best swordsman on Earth. X is probably the best swordsman from America, with Takeshi being the best from Asia. That's for sure. Much like Takeshi, he is skilled in the art of dual swords. He carries a set of carbonadium swords, which are, if you don't know, is a radioactive metal that can kill people with healing factors, perfect against Wolverine.
Yeah.
But instead of going down the route of, leading the hand and working on his skills to become a better fighter and, prove his worth, X's whole goal is that he simply wants to just have a little fun.
He just wants to kill people.
So he goes to a small town in Texas, becomes the leader of a murder-rape cult, starts killing just civilians for the fun of it, and then making deals with them, becomes their, debt collector, tax collector, whatever. And instead of making them pay fines, he kills their loved ones and rapes them. And all the other fucking horrible things of that variety, like putting a child's severed head in a box to give to his father who did not pay for them.
Whatever the worst possible thing you can think of, he's probably done.
X is one of the most evil fucking people. The only thing that he doesn't have going for him, which other villains do, is cannibalism and mass genocide. However, X wants one thing more than anything else, and that is just to stomp on others. Whereas Takeshi wants to boost his own ego by, showing that he's better than people.
Prove himself.
X wants to crush everyone else's, emotions and not prove that he's better, but prove that others are insignificant. His is, instead of it being like a confidence thing, it's just a terrorism thing. He's truly just a fucking horror movie villain more than he is an actual person. And much like Takeshi, he is arrogant, but not in the way where he believes he will beat you and, prove that he's better than you. He's arrogant in the way that he doesn't even think you matter, and he is going to kill you in any possible way that he wants to and do whatever he wants with your body. That's the kind of man that he is. So obviously the basic rundown of the powers: Master Swordsman, 2 carbonadium swords, nanobots, and pain resistance. Not pain resistance, just complete numbing to pain.
Can't feel pain. Can't feel nothing. He literally feels nothing.
And I don't know if this is part of it, but I know this is a comic thing. Like Taskmaster, he's really good at predicting the moves of other people before they happen. I don't know if that's a thing here, but that is a thing in the comics. He has some other special abilities, but we won't talk about them. But that's basically it for right. So, with that, I'll go ahead and do my my part with Mr. X. I'll go ahead and go first. So we start in Mr. X's hideout. He's sitting there with 2 of his lackeys. They're talking about whatever dumb shit they're talking about, as suddenly a guard runs in, telling him that there's a man on the premises who's taking out guards left and right. X scoffs and tells his lackey to go and kill him. He runs out. We see Takeshi walking through the base, slicing through people like butter. The lackeys go to shoot Takeshi, but he slashes through the bullets and stabs into the guards. He walks inside the hideout and comes to X's room. He stands there, dual katanas in hand. "Hey there, pal. Any reason why you're here killing my guys?" says X. "I've heard that you claim to be the best swordsman on Earth, and I've come to dispute the claim and prove that I am your superior." X begins to laugh, and he stands up. "Here I was thinking you were some kind of IRS agent here to take my money. Glad to see you're just some chump who doesn't know what the fuck you're messing with."
Fuck the IRS.
Deep on the IRS.
Real. X unsheathes his sword. "Face me with honor, mercenary. I want this fight to prove who is truly better." Takeshi. X merely raises his hands, gesturing for Takeshi to come at him. Takeshi runs forward, swinging his swords around, trying to get through one of X's weak points. His speed is overwhelmingly quick, but X is able to counter his slashes by holding his swords at a cross position. Takeshi's swords are slamming off of X's as X smiles a wicked grin of pure delight. X kicks Takeshi away. Takeshi slides back, doing a little sword spin with his hands. "Good guard," says Takeshi. "Thanks. Let's see how good yours is." X leaps forward, swinging his sword to Takeshi, who is able to dodge several slashes before blocking a few. X plunges his sword deep into Takeshi's thigh and rips it out. Takeshi grunts as X smiles sadistically while laughing. Takeshi begins to do a spinning motion. As he comes at X with both swords extended, his body is spinning almost like that of a shuriken as he slices through X's guard and cuts into his stomach. He slashes X several more times before impaling him in the stomach with both swords. He rips them out and X drops to his knees. Takeshi scoffs and prepares to walk away, but X begins to chuckle as we see his wounds begin to seal up. The nanobots in his bloodstream are healing him. What? How? Weapon X gave me some real good augmentation, the kind that makes someone a better fighter and an even better killer. X dashes forward towards Takeshi, going to stab him straight through the chest. Takeshi dodges out of the way and slashes X's throat. His throat seals up and X ducks underneath at an oncoming attack at Takeshi, slashing his stomach open with his swords. Takeshi backs up, clutching his stomach. X's smile persists as he then reads several more attacks from Takeshi coming forward. X switches his feet placement around Takeshi's back, stabbing him through the back with both of his swords. Takeshi begins to spit out blood as X thoroughly stabs into his body. X lifts him into the air and slams him onto the ground using the swords. Takeshi, and one last attempt to kill X, takes one of his swords and stabs it into X's mouth. It comes out of the back of X's neck. X stands up, with Takeshi trying to sprawl to his feet. He stands up, one sword in his right hand. X is stumbling backward before pulling the sword out of his neck and putting it in between his teeth. His neck and mouth seal up as he begins to chuckle. Ever seen One Piece? Call this the 1080-pound phoenix.
What the?
X slams forward and uses both swords to cut on it. Uses both swords and the sword in his mouth to slash Takeshi to ribbons. His carbonadium swords take both of Takeshi's arms off, and the final sword in his mouth slashes directly through Takeshi's head, cutting his skull straight down the middle. Takeshi's mangled corpse falls to the ground. Nice try, pal. But honor ain't shit to someone like me. He proceeds to fold Takeshi's body into a ball and sits on his back. Man, this would be a good place to eat a sandwich. And that's the fight between those two from X's perspective.
Damn, you wrote whole ass dialogue.
I love doing the dialogue.
I did not.
I like to imagine when, like, actually if characters were to meet, because as you know, I like to factor personality into this. So I could just imagine what the motherfuckers were talking about.
Can I just say, I think if Mr. X wasn't like a deranged psychopath, I think him and Harold Meacham get along great because he hates IRS.
Them in the hood all hate the
Fucking
fucking
the IRS.
Yeah, as they should.
For the last time, I am not giving the IRS any of my damn money.
I don't care who the IRS sends. I am not paying taxes.
All right, brother, it's your turn to talk
Oh,
about
boy.
your point of view on this battle.
Okay, well, mine is not anywhere as detailed or as elaborate, but I'll go ahead. So I also have Takeshi breaking into Mr. X's facility and challenging him to a fight.
Because we know Mr. X ain't gonna go to fucking Takeshi's and try
His
to fight
lazy
him.
ass.
His lazy ass is gonna stay
His
with you.
lazy
he
ass
doesn't
is
care
sit- his lazy ass is sitting in his fucking base unless he has to go rape somebody or something.
Right. The only time he'd leave is if he found out Wolverine was hanging around town.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, I gotta go fight that guy. Wait, what else you got? Fuck it.
Takeshi challenges Mr. X to a fight. They both draw their swords, begin engaging in combat. They're very, very similar in skill with their swords. So, however, Takeshi, I believe Takeshi is slightly faster, so he has an easier time dodging and blocking Mr. X's attacks and landing more hits on him. The nanobots would be quite difficult for Takeshi to deal with. However, I think he could, with his speed, be able to damage him more so that the nanobots wouldn't be able to heal him, landing several fatal strikes. Be a very close fight. Mr. X wouldn't have as many because they would, most of his minor injuries would be healed, but Takeshi would be covered in cuts and blood. So eventually Takeshi lands a sword, slice across his neck and up through his head, killing him. I also think that Mr. X's ability to not feel pain is actually more towards his detriment. Because yes, he can't feel the pain of attacks, which will hold him back, but also since he can't feel them, he doesn't understand just how much he's damaged.
It's a very valid point.
Yeah.
Very valid point. Is that all?
I think that's really all I have.
Yeah, definitely.
They're very-
definitely a little bit different from how mine.
Yeah, I kind of just like hit the basics of what I thought they were better at.
Yeah.
They're both very similar in skill set and feats, I think.
I have all of their feats, and I actually did a full comprehensive list of both of their abilities and details right here. If you want to when Dalton asks questions, we'll read some of their abilities out because I have more that we didn't say necessarily. I have a whole list for both of them.
Any questions, Dalton?
I think you both brought up very valid points with each of your characters. You both gave very good summaries to begin with, and both of your scenarios are very plausible. And I don't really have any questions, just kind of like, statements in review of both scenarios. And so I think they're both very plausible. I don't know. It's kind of a hard choice because, as you said, Alex, they both have very similar skill sets, and either one could land the finishing blow in a second. Like Brady was saying, Mr. X's ability to not feel pain could possibly be part of a detriment due to getting so caught up in it, and then all of a sudden he's bleeding from every crevice of the body, and then again, also
That's how. sorry. That's how Wolverine was able to overcome the nanobots, just by damaging him so quickly that the nanobots couldn't really get to every place to heal him.
I think my only thought on that is I just don't think Takeshi can pull off what Wolverine can pull off.
Really?
That is true. Well, you did say he's one of the best swordsmen.
But so is he.
He's also fast. He's fast enough to keep up with a lot of other skilled fighters in the verse, like Danny and Shang. He went pretty close to Shang with Shang.
Oh, it's so
Shang. With Shang slightly outclassing him,
Takeshi is in Shaun of the Dead.
and Danny even getting knocked down for a little bit when in his.
We won't talk about my thoughts on that. That's for another day. That's for when the Iron Fist match on Mondays happen and I start anti-feeding Brady into oblivion.
Okay, so I do have one question. It doesn't matter who's a better swordsman. Who would you say is a faster swordsman? Who's more deliberate and who gets into the places they need to get to quick?
I think.
See, that's hard though. It's like
Shang keeps up with some really fast fighters. We've really only seen Mr. X go up against Wolverine.
But he's Wolverine.
I know Wolverine's fast. The thing about Wolverine is Wolverine likes to tank attacks because he can just heal from most of them.
Right.
That's true.
Danny and Shang.
But he didn't do that against X because he knew the swords would hurt him. So that put him on the defensive. I also feel like X just has better defensive feats. I know it's literally only one scene, but we've seen Takeshi get taken down by Shang, by Danny Orson. But X never really went down. He just fucking died. He didn't actually ever really go down.
Sure.
And one time he went on a knee just to gloat that Wolverine fucking sucks. There's also another thing that I want to bring up. There's not only his regeneration, which also to think, that also helps with his stamina. He wouldn't get tired physically during the fight. Takeshi is only human. He will slow down. X will not.
So are we saying that Takeshi would be more calculated with his stamina and with his attacks, making sure he doesn't what's the word I'm for? Exhaust himself.
See, that's really hard to think about, though.
Yeah. Well, see, the thing about it is, we also saw Takeshi most of the time when he was fighting. He was fighting in a very when he was fighting against Shang, he was fighting in a very emotionally fueled state, because his entire motivation for his character is to kill Shang to prove to himself and to their father that he's better than him. So, and I think his anger and his emotions kind of overtook him a little bit. And back when he was fighting Danny, he doesn't really give a shit about Danny.
Right.
He has no emotional connection to this guy. He performed better, and he performed better because he wasn't under that all those emotions weren't overwhelming until Shang arrived.
But I thought Danny was tired during the fight.
He was also tired.
Because real Danny would have just fucking beat his shit in.
Yeah.
That's another thing, though, you gotta think that's kind of the similar thing with X, though. He's been wanting to fight Wolverine for how long? And he spent too much of the fight gloating about how much he wanted to kill Wolverine and how shit Wolverine was to actually fight him. I feel like if these two, which then again, you have to factor in their personalities.
Mm-hmm.
And these two coming into the fight would not give a fuck about each other.
They're both very arrogant, very cocky.
The thing is, though, like, why would these two fight other than to prove that one of them is better than the other? They're both gonna come with different things. Takeshi's like, I gotta prove that I'm better, that I'm stronger, that I'm a better fighter. And X is just like, I want to prove that you're fucking worthless, and I'm gonna kill you.
Well, I just think the thing with Shang...
It's two opposites of the same coin, really.
What I was really like trying to get out with Shang is because he has like a personal thing against Shang.
Right.
He wants to prove that he's better against... He would want to prove that he's better against Shang and X.
Right.
But he's had beef with Shang like his entire childhood.
Right.
But would Mr. X or in Flip Flop, Takeshi would either or gloat too much?
I think they would equally gloat to each other.
And one of them catches the other off.
Yeah, because Takeshi's gonna be like, oh, I thought you were better, blah 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 blah, and X is gonna be like, I'll rape your fucking children or whatever.
I see them doing the exact same
I
thing.
was gonna say, would Mr. X do the same thing then?
Yeah, exactly. They would both be yapping.
They're both yapping. Takeshi is quite the
Because
yapper.
Takeshi's got a thing for fucking up dudes and then backing away and then putting his sword out and being like, well, I knew I was better than you. Where X does it after he takes damage to be like, wow, motherfucker, you suck. Like Wolverine slices his gut, he just takes a knee and stands up and he's like, damn, bro, that's all you got?
Yeah, that's it.
That's all you got? Like, they're both like the opposite ends of the same spectrum when it comes to just fucking being annoying.
Sorry guys, I'm kind of reading through some of the stats here.
No, man, you're good. Take your time. I bet this is interesting for you since you wrote both of those characters.
Yeah. I have a slight Takeshi bias.
Well, I mean, yeah, you did actually make him a real character.
Oh no, I love Mr. X. He's probably my favorite villain I've ever written. I have a very personal connection.
I mean, what, you wrote 3?
Hmm?
You got really what? Like, I mean, Lecture doesn't count.
Like to Mr. X, Takeshi. That's it. Really.
It's literally just those two.
Yeah, yes. Until my next movie comes.
Yeah,
out.
until you start getting into the other folks like Kingpin and Bullseye and whoever else. I don't actually remember who else you're writing.
We got shit coming.
Yeah. But those two, I mean, y'all know he's making Daredevil movies, so I can just say that. Yeah, I obviously know it's going to be Kingpin and Bullseye. It always fucking is. I mean, you just know, though. You just know.
Well, I know we haven't said that I'm making a Daredevil.
Yeah. That was announced back with the old movies, just like Wonder Man was.
I don't think so.
Yeah, man.
Was it?
Daredevil in the Inferno was part of the old post.
Oh shit!
Yeah, dude, that's been in circulation for a long time.
Dang, I was planning on making this like big ass surprise video. Hey, I'm making Daredevil.
Hey man,
movies.
Like you said, nobody watches this. You can always just make it.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I'm gonna do that with Wonder Man. Let's just name drop another one. But anyway, back to the actual conversation.
So, do I get my opinion?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You're the judge, bro. Of course you do.
Well, I just didn't know if I had just...
Yeah. I mean, you've seen both of these movies. You know them for the most part. And you've heard what we said, so. Also have stats and feats if I need to talk about those as well.
Okay, so personally, I feel that the fight would drag on a little bit longer than what you guys made it out to drag out.
Kind of fun.
Just because I feel like they both glowed so much because they're both full of themselves.
Like anime villains.
Yeah, it would be like a typical like anime video game, boss fight where there's like a million cutscenes of them just standing there talking to each other.
Dio says, I stopped time for 9 seconds and then rants for 3 minutes.
Exactly.
Like, how did you do that?
Yeah,
That's not possible.
It's basically exactly what I mean.
The monologue time doesn't count. It's not time.
So, I mean, if reality could pause time for like fucking 3 minutes, dude, how did everyone not die? That's one thing if I'm just, I'm just gonna shut the fuck up.
We're getting off topic.
Yeah.
I think Takeshi gets some good shots in on Mr. X during the fights. Some shots that maybe the nanobots can't heal. Maybe it's just such a deep wound or something where they can't really heal it perfectly. Maybe it's scarred, maybe it just makes it weak. Mr. X also gets some good shots out in on Takeshi and makes him weaker. It's gonna be a very long, drug-out fight. But honestly, I think in the end, just a pure, sheer will, and just kind of the idea of, all right, fuck this, I'm done, and just getting pissed off and angry. I think Mr. X would come out on top, personally, just because Takeshi is more. You listed Takeshi having higher IQ, which usually means that somebody with more IQ is more methodical, not as fast paced, doesn't get so quick to anger as somebody who like, I'm sure Mr. X is not very high IQ, who's literally a rapist.
Yeah, pretty fucking stupid to do that. Stupid prick.
He just kind of uses his sheer power.
Also, we didn't even bring this up, but like, if you want to go by like how it is in like real life fights, there's also their physical dimensions.
Yeah. With
X being a much larger person than Takeshi is.
I think he just kind of see red and go apeshit.
I see red.
I see red. Body start fucking dropping.
So yeah, I'm unfortunate because I think Takeshi is a very good fighter, and I think in a one-on-one where there's no emotions involved or anything, it'd be it's a very hard pick. But I think just out of pure, like I said, frustration and anger, Mr. X comes out on top.
I'm gonna go ahead and list stats because I want to know Brady's opinion on this. I have X winning 7-5 in the stats department. Physical strength, I gave it to Mr. X. Striking strength, I gave it to him. Movement speed and combat speed and reflexes, I all gave to Takeshi. Mr. X wins in durability, stamina, regeneration, weapons, and battle IQ. And Takeshi wins in experience and just general IQ.
Yeah. That seems pretty fair.
And for feats, I have Takeshi defeating Shang-Chi in a fight, defeating Iron Fist in a fight, blocking bullets, and killing Orson. Mr. X, I have shrugs off stabs and cuts from Wolverine, heals from major slash wounds, is able to physically overpower and damage Wolverine, nearly kills Wolverine until he is amped by a rage boost. There is also the other thing, like, if the motherfuckers just got to a point where like they lost their swords and just started fighting hand to hand, Takeshi's not going to win that fight.
Yeah. No, he doesn't have the striking power.
Yeah, he doesn't have the striking power, and also, I mean, you see X is able to physically push back Wolverine, who we know is on par with people like Venom and Shrek, like, because we did that whole fight.
Yeah.
We talked about that, and it's a pretty comparable thing to say. But obviously, they're gonna fight the swords because they're too good to lose them, I think. See, it's interesting because like neither of these characters have never faced someone that is exactly like them.
Yeah. Which makes it that's why I say more like frustration points.
Yeah, like
he's like, oh my god.
The fight's gonna drag on, but who's gonna be like get to the point where they're just like, I'm fucking finishing this first.
Yeah.
It's probably gonna be X.
He's like, what the fuck am I doing? Let's just get this over with.
I just want to have a beer and commit sexual assault. I don't want nothing to do with this fight.
Exactly.
Cutting into my rape time.
That's such a terrible thing to say, but that's honestly just who that's just who the guy is.
That's just the truth, bro.
I think this is honestly probably like one of the easiest matchups that we've ever debated. Like it took the least amount of time. But I think we've all come to an agreement that X is probably going to be sketchy. Is there anything else you want to say, Brady? Now that we've kind of left we'll just say we're leaving the scenario of the fight now. Since you wrote both of them, I want you to like give your like thematic opinion on who would actually win. Just based on like a story perspective, who would actually?
What do you mean, like on a story perspective?
So like we were kind of pitting them up like against like abilities and stuff, like as you do in a fight.
Yeah.
Like if you were writing the story, and you had to make them fight, who would you make win? Just because you have to.
It's like Stan Lee says. It depends on what the story is. It depends on what I need from the story.
So say the plot of the story is like the two dudes are just like they met randomly and they had a random encounter fight. Who would you have win the fight? Because like a lot of movies, like one character wins and then comes back and beats them later. But like if they first fight, who wins the first fight?
I'm gonna be so honest here. I knew you were gonna bring this up, and I chose to ignore it because it's something that you've like said consistently. but it was something, and it was probably something from the comics, but I never intended it for it to happen. But the nanobites are not mentioned in. I think you just like saw them in the comics and then put them in the Shield Files video, and I was just like, okay, I guess they just exist.
Yeah.
Because every other time we've talked about this, like, just casually, the nanobites weren't really involved, so I thought the plot was a lot closer.
Yeah.
With the inclusion of the nanobites, I think it is like heavily in Mr. X's favor, which isn't what I really intended with the character, but I mean, it's whatever.
Well, he had
It's just
no matter what.
Hmm?
In Brotherhood, he had no impact.
No, he just didn't feel pain.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Well, then let's
Yeah.
let's
But it's
remove,
a fun little
let's
hypothetical.
remove that from the equation. Who wins then?
I didn't really say anything because this is just like a fun little hypothetical.
Yeah.
So I just like, oh, you know, let's give it to him. Let's see what happens.
I still think.
I think
I still just don't think that Takeshi could get enough shots in to finish him before he gets pissed off.
if I was writing the story and like Takeshi was the main character, then initial fight, then yeah, it probably is.
That way,
And then-
that way it's a comeback.
Yeah, and then come back beat him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just how stories go.
Everybody loves a good comeback story. Kim Kardashian.
Anyway, that was the episode. It was really easy to do.
Yeah.
As
I think the next one's gonna be a little harder.
The next one, which will be Orson Reyno versus Red Guardian, which we're going to record right after this, will be a lot more fun. So stay tuned for 2 Mondays from now. Hope you all enjoyed and have a good night.